You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan and Kaan.
Hello, Black Eagles podcast listeners. Apologies coming from post-production here. We made the executive decision to drop the beeps today. A certain co-host of mine, who I won't name publicly, spoke very passionately this episode with a lot of fervor, you could say. And as such, I decided to let it go. So if you have kids, maybe put some headphones on. If you're offended by foul language, my apologies, or our apologies. Perhaps this episode is not for you. But without further ado, let the show begin.
Şimdi Ahmet ikinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 83 of Beşiktaş International's The Black Eagles podcast. Once again, illustrious hosts and co-hosts abound. I am Sinan, live from New York City, as always. With me, again, is Kaan coming in from Belgium. And Kartal from Scotland is with us. Another trifecta. The trifecta is here. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's an absolute honor to be on the podcast yet again.
Yeah, it's great to have you, Kartal. The aptly named twin. I gotta say, as far as names go, your name fits the podcast. But no, I hope your brother's doing well.
If his dad has his way, Özcan would be called Beşiktaş. So
yeah, that's very true.
That would have been awesome. And Kaan, how are you doing?
I had a shit day, man. I really had a bad day for multiple reasons. One of the main reasons is the transfer we announced today that just doesn't sit well with me, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we have a big episode today, and I imagine it's going to strike some nice conversation. I got these guys late night on European time, so hopefully I can keep them awake. I have a feeling the debate will probably do the trick. But anyway, before we even do that, we of course have to talk a bit about a match that was played. We have to review our first match of the season, and I sort of sigh heavily as I recall having to do that because we probably all know the result by now. Beşiktaş was on the road against Sivasspor. I guess let me quickly just talk about the lineup. The match itself, all of that, and then we can start talking about exactly what happened. So yeah, as I said, Beşiktaş was on the road in Sivas, which can be daunting, to be fair. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's one of the harder places to go in the standing.
Yeah, definitely. One of the more difficult matches.
That one year when Sivas remember they made a run for the title? I feel like they really garnered a big following then. It's been pretty serious ever since. Although maybe it
they have a decent crowd. I mean, I think they have like a 10K on average or something. So it's relatively decent for a non-traditional club.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like Sivas are a big club in history.
Yeah,
so.
They're not like a Trabzon or an Eskişehir. But anyway, quickly I'll just breeze through the lineup. Utku was starting in the goal. We'll have to talk about the lineup before we even get into the game because this itself is probably worthy of discussion. The back line consisted of a debut from Victor Ruiz, and Domingos Vida alongside him. Gökhan Gönül was on the right side, Caner Erkin on the left. Gary Medel started as a sort of a lone defensive midfielder, unless you consider Dorukhan Toku's a defensive midfielder. I think he was slotted in as more of a central midfielder in this match, with Adem Ljajic in the number 10 role. Ricardo Quaresma started on the left side. Tyler Boyd, another debut, on the right side. And Guven Yalçın started up front. As far as Sivas goes, Emre Kılınç is a sort of notable player. Yatabare up front was pretty solid for them. Of course, Samasa, their goalkeeper, would become a talking point. But yeah, Kaan, I'm going to talk. I want to hear your take on that lineup. While we have your vitriol and your resentment going here from a bad day, tell me a little bit about what you thought of this lineup going into the match.
As soon as I saw the lineup, I knew we were not going to win that match.
Yeah.
That's basically, I just that took all my expectations. Like I still looking kind of. I know we're lacking a lot of key components for that match. I wasn't very hopeful with our goalkeeper situation because I was expecting Utku to start, even though I think Ersin should have started because he's a better goalkeeper.
Yeah, he really shone in our last friendly.
Yeah, and not just that. I mean, Ersin's been showing that for the under 19 national team too and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw the lineup, I just kind of my confidence sank into my shoes, so to speak. I really expected Pedro Rebocho to start ahead of Caner, and Gökhan wasn't a big surprise to me because both Gökhan and Douglas kind of missed basically all the friendlies, but I was kind of figuring that he'd start with Douglas because Gökhan had surgery, so I know it was just on his hand or on his arm or whatever, but still it takes you out a little bit. I mean, you're being put under narcotics or whatever and shit, so it kind of does something to the human body. So that was disappointing that Rebocho didn't start. Gökhan Gönül, okay, I get that to an extent.
And I think Douglas is, of all of the incoming transfers this summer, Douglas is probably the most, we're phasing him in, right? I think Gökhan Gönül is probably the most solid guy that we're replacing.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe over time.
I think if Gökhan Gönül would have been fit and ready to go, I would not have questioned that decision. But given that he just came off a surgery, I would have gone with Douglas. But that decision didn't really make my eyebrow frown or
furrow.
Furrow, yeah.
Furrow your brow.
Medel starting, that was something that puzzled me. Again, a guy that missed basically the entire training camp, played 29 or 30 minutes in the first friendly, got injured and missed the rest of the training camp. Add to that Ljajic and Dorukhan both missed the full training camp and didn't play a single friendly match. To me, that had massive alarm bells going off, that your entire midfield were players that had no match rhythm. Now, obviously, you're going to start with Adem Ljajic because he's the star of your team. You have to start him because he's the talisman. He's the talisman. He's the creative brain of your team. So you have to start him, even if you just drop him in cold turkey. But Medel, I did not understand. I think we also, the second goal, we'll talk about it later, but I think you can probably attribute that as well to him not being 100% match fit. Dorukhan, starting him, I kind of get it, but I would have started someone else instead of Medel. And then...
Sure. What about finally up front, Kaan? I have a feeling you may not have been particularly happy about Guven being the first call.
That's the question of, if you have to work with what's available to you, and the only choices he had was Guven Yalçın or Umut Nayır. Well, I thought Umut played a decent match against Panathinaikos. I think Umut fits the type of game that Avci wants to play more. So for me...
Yeah, I remember you saying this in the group chat. I'm trying to serve this. I wanted you to say that, right? Because you'd said that as far as like his profile, he really fits the model for Avci forward, right?
Look, yeah, exactly. Yeah, when we were battling Beşiktaş for the title, basically their main striker during the first half of the season was Mehmet Batal, and he did okay for them, And he's a very limited player. I think Umut Nayar is a less limited player. I'm not saying that Umut Nayar is a Beşiktaş level first team striker. I've always said I think he's the perfect third choice striker. Reason being is he's already in his prime. You're not wasting a talent on the bench anymore. He's at a good age, 26, 27. That's the perfect age for a guy who's never really going to attain that level of first striker, but can be useful for you. And I rather see that type of profile of a player on the bench all the time than I see a 20-year-old Güven Yalçın who potentially one day might be Beşiktaş's first striker. Now, do I see that in him? That's another question, but obviously, Güven at 20 years old, if you send him out on loan for 1 or 2 years, he plays 30-plus games in each of those seasons, and he performs well, he could develop into a really quality player. I think that Güven Yalçın needs to be sent out on loan. There's talk of us getting a new striker. If that happens, I think you keep Umut Nayar on the bench, and I think you send Güven out on loan so he can get playing time, because contrary to me being very critical of Güven, that does not mean I do not believe he could be a really useful player in a couple of years down the road.
Sure,
he clearly...
He's still 19.
Yeah, he clearly has talent. I think he's 20, but that doesn't matter, 19, 20, whatever. But he's clearly very talented. A striker naturally comes into his prime around 26, 27, 28. That's those prime years where you expect them to peak. So he's still way off from that. If he can go to, for example, a Sivasspor or a Konyaspor or whatever, and he can play week in, week out, and he does that for 1 or 2 seasons like Cenk did at Gaziantepspor, Güven Yalçın could be a real quality player down the road. Now, I think if he sticks with Beşiktaş for this season and maybe next season, then you're wasting him because he's never going to be playing week in, week out because he's not yet good enough for that. And have the off chance that Güven's listening to this, I'm sorry, Güven, you're not good enough yet, but you might be one day because you're clearly talented. So that's the type of player you want to loan out. So if Beşiktaş come in with a new transfer still, if Beşiktaş come in with a new striker, I think you send Güven out. I think Umut should have started in this match because he fits that profile more of the target man that Abdullah Avci likes to play with. If it were up to me, I would have put Laiç up on the left. I would have put Boyd on the right, Umut on the top, and my midfield would have been Muhayir, Dorukhan, and Oğuzhan. Because Oğuzhan has been Avci's number 6 for the entire training camp. Why suddenly...
Wait, sorry, who'd you say on the left?
Laiç. Instead of Quaresma, because in effect, playing with Quaresma right now is like playing with 10 men. I'm
surprised you wouldn't put Lens out there.
Lens was suspended, so he couldn't play.
Oh, okay. I was kind of curious about that. He wasn't even on the bench.
Suspended from last season's last match where he got a red card in the last minute.
Oh, God, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So that's what I would have gone with. I would have gone with Laiç on the left, Tyler Boyd on the right, Umut up top, Muhayir in midfield, Oğuzhan in midfield, and Dorukhan in midfield. Maybe that's a little bit of a soft midfield, but look at Ajax. Does Ajax play with an Nzonzi? Does Ajax play with Atiba Hutchinson? No, they don't. You don't need that profile of a player if your midfield is good enough with their feet. You don't need it.
Yeah, if they can hold the ball reliably and distribute it well.
Yeah, and
which has been a problem with our.
Yeah,
with
and
our
we've seen with Muhayir how good he is. He's been alongside Muhayir and who was our other? Oh, and Tyler Boyd, obviously. Muhayir and Tyler Boyd are highlights from the preseason.
The summer.
So why don't you start Muhayir? He's shown in every single one of those friendly matches. He's the only player except for Boyd that has shown in every single one of those matches that he's ready. So play him. Just play him. What do you got to lose with? Because with this lineup, you're not gonna win anyway. So you might as well take a little bit of a risk.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, exactly, and especially given the nature of this match, where like we were down all these guys, still kind of sorting out who's coming into the team still and everything. I feel like this was the opportunity, especially given the promising summer where we had all these young guys in the rotation, for him to maybe see that through. Like for one match, at least we could see kind of where they were.
What was our bright light? Our only good point coming out of this match at the end of the day was Victor Ruiz. Victor Ruiz played a good game.
Yeah, well, and that's
our only highlight from this match. What if Abdullah Afci starts with Muhair and he starts with Kerem Kalafat? If Douglas isn't ready to play, okay, fine, play with Kerem. He played good in the friendlies. Play Kerem on the right, Muhair in midfield, and Oğuzhan in midfield instead of Medel.
Well, so
then, and if you lose, then at least then you have still, well, two young players got a chance, and Oğuzhan got some match rhythm. But now you get nothing. Now you win nothing.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's what happened. So. Kartal, you've been quiet in the corner there. I'm going to turn over sort of match analysis to you, Kartal, to get your voice in here. Now, but first, do you have any comments about the lineup that Kaan didn't hit up already? Or do you feel differently about anything?
Maybe there's one thing I disagree with what Kaan said, and that was that I don't think Adam Niai should be playing on the left wing, because I think whenever he played there last year, he kind of got lost. I think his best year was in the middle.
It's because we played a different system last season.
Yeah, but I would have went for a midfield of Dorukhan, Muhair, and Adam Niaj.
And so, who would you have on that left wing? Quaresma? Was that the right call?
I wouldn't play Quaresma. I'd actually before obviously we signed Nkoudou now, but we're going to talk about that later on. But I would actually play Johnny Erkin at left mid and played the Bocher left back.
On the left side.
That's an option.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, it'll be now that we actually have a solid left back, we can actually start thinking about Johnny as a left midfielder again sometimes, which at least we don't have to worry about the sort of drain on the defense that he poses for us. But anyway, good points there.
But he by the way, he caught a lot of slack again because he's obviously the go-to scapegoat, but I didn't really think he played a bad match. Janner, I don't know. I mean, I had the feeling Sivas were coming over our right wing all the time rather than our left wing. I found that very curious.
Yeah, Gökhan Gönül had a pretty terrible match. I mean, one thing to be said is like when Janner had a bad game, like in the friendly match, you know, clearly goals were because of him, right? But this was definitely not the case. And let's get into this. Let's talk about these goals a little bit. And let's talk about who was responsible for them. You actually sort of summarized it pretty well, Kaan, in the group chat. But first, let's hear from Kartal a little bit. So basically, the game starts, 24th minute, they get a yellow card for Erdal. In the 30th minute, a goal is scored. Yandash, what's his first name? Mert Hakan.
Yeah.
Mert Hakan. Kartal, tell me about that goal. So it's Erdal, who had just received the yellow card, assisted it. What do you think about the goal? Who's responsible for it? What happened?
So what happened is that Gökhan goes out to the ball. And Quaresma, instead of marking his man, also goes to the ball, and the ball comes in and it just gives the Hakan an easy run onto the ball and an easy finish, and we're found there 1-0 down.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and that was the one thing there was one thing we couldn't do in this match. That was go a goal behind. It's the one thing we had one job, and that was keep the 0. That was the most important thing in this match. And then almost a 36-year-old Euro winner, Champions League winner, multiple title winner, can't cover his fucking man. He had one job: track back and cover your man. But like a headless fucking chicken, he runs to the exact same man that Gökhan Gönül is running to. And kid yourself not, that is Quaresma's fault, because Quaresma left their left back unmarked, which is his man, as at that point he was the right winger because he had switched wings with Tyler Boyd. So he is 101% to blame for this goal.
It's hard to disagree. I mean, Especially, I love when a guy demands that I'm on this side, this is my side, you go over there, and then like gives up a goal by doing so. Like, that's especially fun. He was doing that a lot, like sort of forcing Tyler Boyd to swap to the other side. And Tyler Boyd, I mean, I guess we can sort of fast forward a little bit. Like at the end of the first half, Tyler Boyd collided with Sivas' keeper, Samasa. It was really right when the half had ended, pretty much. But it carried on through, and like there's like 10 minutes into extra time when they finally restarted the game, and then it went 5 minutes further, so it was a pretty long first half. But anyway, Tyler Boyd smashed into the keeper. A play we'll probably have to talk about a bunch in and of itself. But from there on out, he was sort of dizzied, maybe concussed, probably concussed. Probably shouldn't have carried on.
No, he should have been taken off. I think he was concussed for sure. Maybe not a heavy concussion, but pretty clearly he was concussed because he was not the same player in the second half when we came back out.
Well, and so my point being that it's especially annoying that Quaresma was forcing him to sort of swap sides constantly, given the fact that he already looked kind of disoriented and out of it.
I don't know if that was forced. I mean, I think that's part of the tactic. I mean, we used to do that with Sinan all the time too, like the wings would swap. I don't think that's necessarily Quaresma's decision. I mean, obviously he's the more experienced player, so maybe he picked the times in the match when they did it. But I think that's part of the tactic. I don't think that's something Quaresma decides on his own. So I don't want to.
You don't want to overdo it
as the evil overlord here.
Well, yeah, and it was just one goal ultimately, right? And so giving up a goal to Sivas should not be the end of the world. You can theoretically score and get back into this match. But of course, this did not happen. So as I said, the half ended still 1-0 to Sivasspor with that kind of dramatic injury at the end of the half. I mean, before I move on, do you guys want to say a few words about that? Kaan, I know you have an opinion on the collision and what and how
I think
it was
the referee is a
judged.
Piece of shit.
There you go.
Fucking asshole gave Tyler Boyd a yellow card there. He's a fucking asshole. Fucking piece of shit. Should never be allowed to referee a match again. Fuck that. How the fuck is that a fucking yellow card? Fucking asshole.
Explain why you feel that way, Kaan.
Tyler Boyd goes up. Yes, his foot is a little bit high, but he's clearly controlling the ball. Gets the ball first, clearly. His studs are not aimed at his opponent or anything. The resulting injury is because that idiot of a goalkeeper smashes his head into Boyd's face like fucking, what's it called? Freight train. Just bam, smashes it in there. Now, obviously, if you're not looking and you're only looking at the ball, you share part of the responsibility. Fine, it's fine. So I'm not saying penalty. It's not what I'm saying. But the goalkeeper is running straight at Boyd.
Yeah, and he's the one who can see the whole thing.
He knows Boyd is there.
Yeah.
He also can see that Tyler Boyd has got his head turned and is looking up at the ball in the air. And he still comes in like a fucking moron and smashes his fucking head into Boyd's face like a piece of idiotic... I don't know. I'm very happy that he's not hurt permanently. I'm happy he's okay. But that was...
It was stupid.
At the very least 50-50. That was not just Tyler Boyd there. To give Boyd a yellow card there is bullshit.
Yeah, and it's pretty much just... it was because the guy was hurt, you know? Like, they obviously played in the crowd, right? Yeah.
Man, Boyd was still down for 2 minutes or something. He couldn't even get his...
Yeah, well, and we were saying he was clearly affected for the rest of the match.
It reminded me a little bit of that red card that I think Samudio... Was it Samudio? Brian Samudio got last season against Galatasaray.
Oh, yeah.
When he shot...
Akbaba, right?
And Emre Akbaba, like an idiot, puts his foot in between the ball and the shot and gets his leg snapped. Yeah. And Samudio gets a red card for that, while it's 100% Akbaba's own fault.
Clearly, yeah. No, that exactly. Yeah. No, it was very unfortunate.
That's the same thing here. For me, this is not. For me, the majority of the blame here goes on the goalkeeper because he sees everything happen, and obviously, I'm not saying he can't make a play for the ball. Obviously, he has to go for the ball. That's his job. But he runs in like like an idiot.
And I'll tell
Like
you,
an idiot.
there's another aspect to this, which is even more. I don't think we talked about it in our group chat enough, if at all. And I certainly don't think anyone else was talking about it. The psychological impact. I mean, just the trauma of the collision, the fear, like the guy collapses. There's like a fear this guy might be dead. Like nobody has. We luckily, as he's going into the ambulance, you can see him kind of move his hand, whatever. So we're like, okay, he's probably alive. But like, I think his tongue may have fallen back into his throat, and he was choking on it, and like they pulled it out in time, luckily. But just the weight of that on Tyler Boyd's shoulders, knowing like, is this guy gonna survive the day? You know, did I kill a guy by accident? You know, or and then I mean, yeah, the whole thing is rather unfortunate.
If he would have died, he would have killed himself.
Yeah, maybe.
No, that's if he would have died, it would have been his own fault.
Yeah, I agree.
Think just to add to what you guys are
Because
say again,
I definitely do think
Yeah.
that it did have an impact on Tyler Boyd, because the Tyler Boyd we saw in the second half wasn't the same Tyler Boyd that we saw in the first half.
not at all.
And the thing is, you know what? He gets a yellow card because his foot is up. If Tyler Boyd leaves his foot on the fucking floor, still the same fucking result, because that idiot would still smash his face into his face.
In fact, Tyler Boyd probably gets injured really badly in that scenario, because he would have just gotten.
Tyler Boyd was lucky that he was looking the other way.
Yeah.
Because if he was, I mean, obviously, if he wasn't looking the other way, then probably he would have been able to avoid that freight train coming at him.
And it should be said, he was hit hard enough that it drew blood, like, on the back of his head from the elbow. So, like, the idea that, I mean, he was definitely concussed. There's no way.
So my question is, referee, why the fuck are you giving this kid a yellow card here?
Yeah.
Clearly, what just went down, the injuries that just occurred, have absolutely nothing to do with a high boot or studs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what the fuck are you doing?
But so, yeah.
It is
So that's
zero empathy. And then on top of that, the piece of shit gives Adam Laic a yellow card because Laic is trying to explain to him what fucking just happened.
And what's terrible about this is, so yeah, he claps in the air, not to clap at the referee, which everybody knows is a yellow card and would be fairly stupid, but he's clapping to sort of mimic the collision in the air, to say, like, look, he hit like this. And so his hands clap together, and the dumb ref cards him. Insult to injury, honestly. Like,
Laic is explaining to him they bumped heads.
Exactly.
Why are you giving him a yellow card? It's nothing to do with his foot being up. And the fucking idiot gives him a yellow card.
Exactly.
What a shithead. And adding to that, by the way, the reason I'm also quite pissed is because after the 2-0, I kind of mentally zoned out. But my colleagues on Football Turca pointed out to me, Beşiktaş should have had 2 very clear penalties in the second half too, both on Adam Laic, and the piece of shit doesn't even check it on VAR.
Yeah,
well,
I noticed that they were both kind of quick actions, in the middle of scrums, and so, I mean. Yeah. I noticed it.
The thing is, I didn't even think more of it. And guy, fucking Fenerbahce and Galatasaray fan, you should have had a penalty. You should have had 2 penalties. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't really pay much attention to it anyway, since the match was over for me anyway at that point.
When you have Galatasaray and Fener guys,
I also think we should have had a penalty in the first half. By the way, you know that position where where Caner Osman Pasha basically. Tackles Boyd before he can tap in the ball at 0-0. I think that was a fucking penalty.
It was a penalty, yeah.
And if you get a penalty there at 0-0, this is a different match.
It should be noted that I didn't actually watch any of the other matches this week. That this one was particularly dispiriting for me, but I did just hear in passing that Fener was awarded 4 penalties in the first half of their match.
I think
3 in 23 minutes.
And maybe they were just, right? But so were ours, I think, by many metrics.
I mean, I didn't really. I'm on the fence on the first one, but the second and the third one were just. But the thing I take issue with is we have these positions in our matches where I think if VAR properly checks it, they will decide it's a penalty. And look, for example, the Galatasaray match on Friday. They are looking for an excuse I'm not saying it was a penalty, but they are really properly screening that and looking for an excuse to give a penalty like they did last season when Galatasaray played Sivasspor, which was not a penalty, by the way. And they are looking for minutes just to get that one angle where you can see there is contact, and that's their job, obviously. What they did on Friday for Galatasaray, that was fine. That's how it should be done. But then why does that not apply in our matches? Why does that not happen to our positions? We had 3 positions in this match that could have been potential penalties. Not a single one where VAR decided to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. But in Galatasaray's match they do it, and in Fenerbahce's match they do it. Fenerbahce is up 2-0 already, and there's this ball that is nobody's even appealing for a penalty. Fenerbahce players aren't appealing for a penalty, and it grazed the guy's fucking fingertip. You cannot even see the ball changing direction. And they fucking award a penalty. I'm not saying it's not a penalty, but where the fuck is that fine-tooth fucking comb in our matches?
In our games, yeah. I mean, it's, of course. Again, talk about a recurring issue.
And that's not just it, because Burak had a couple of penalties last season where he was clearly fouled. And you know what? He did not complain because he was trying to redeem himself with the fans, and he didn't want to be the old Burak who was constantly shouting for penalties.
Yeah, exactly.
And apparently, when you don't complain enough,
you don't get anything.
They don't bother to fucking check.
Yeah, the only way.
So, yeah.
Turkish refs. Anyway, let me get through this match. So, the 54th minute, Emre Kılınç actually had a beautiful assist on this one, but yeah, drafts to Yatabare, he puts it away. Kartal, tell us about that second goal. Who's that one on?
It's Gary Medel. I think he's caught in possession in the defensive area, and fair play to Yatabare that he wins the ball and then he takes a beautiful kind of, well, in FIFA you call it a finesse shot anyway. It was a nice pass from just outside the 18-yard box into the top corner. There's nothing we can do about it at all, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So it was on Medel. He should have done better with that ball. He was far too sloppy from him at the back.
Yeah, it's again another individual mistake leads to a goal. That's on Medel. Obviously, Yatabare does something brilliant with it, so you can't say this is 101% on Medel because Yatabare still has to, do that magic.
Yatabare is one of those guys who's kind of earning a profile as a kind of Anadolu assassin, one of those guys who goes around and gets it done, He's been pretty solid in Turkey. Anyway, Medel comes out of the game.
I think his stint with Konya was not so impressive, but he was good at Trabzon.
Moments, it earned him enough to stay, right? He's still here. Anyway, that was in the 54th minute. In the 62nd minute, Gary Medel comes out for Ozan Özyakup. In the 62nd minute, additionally, Umut Nair comes into the match for Ricardo Quaresma, and they move Guven Yalçın out to the left side.
Subs he should have made at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both have gone on the record as saying that we don't really have Guven Yalçın slided in as a left winger. Kartal, how do you feel about that generally?
I don't know. I feel like Guven Yalçın reminds me a lot of Gentilson in a way that I feel like they both get all the talent in the world when it comes to their finishing, but they both lack in movement. They're both very static.
Yeah, and they don't have the physicality to.
It's something that Gentilson developed later on. Like I remember
more so. I mean, he's still not perfect in that regard, but yeah.
He definitely developed more because I remember watching him in that 17-18 group stage. Again, especially that Porto game, Jay played a phenomenal game. I think he improved, but it kind of Guven Yalçın reminds me a lot of that kind of 14, 15, 15, 16, 17 Gentilson. Well, he's a great finisher. He's got great technique when it comes to his shot, but in terms of movement and getting into positions, he definitely lacks. But I feel as if one thing that he doesn't have the Cenk's very strong and can hold up the ball. Guven also struggles when it comes to holding up the ball as well. So I feel like that's a major drawback when it comes to him.
Yeah.
Alongside his
Yeah, and that's something I think you can hope that as he gets a little older, he can kind of, get bigger, get hit the gym, that should help him in that regard, hopefully. Fill out a little bit. But yeah, anyway, so he slid to the left wing, and Umut Nair would finish out the match as our sole striker. Wouldn't do much. In the 75th minute, Orkan Chinar would come into the match for Dorukhan. At that point, we've got 3 wingers.
Yeah, I think then Guven moved into second striker position, I guess.
I assume something like that.
But it was already too late.
And yeah, only a minute later, Emre Kılınç would score. A pretty solid strike on his part. The assist came from Kofi. I think he's from Ivory Coast, Kofi? I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, he's one of those guys.
I think Kofi Kingston is from.
No, I thought. No, because he was one of those sort of like. He came in as a pretty decent prospect in Turkey. I was surprised that'd be good. Anyway, Emre Kılınç's goal. Kartal, what do you think about that one? Who's that one on?
I mean, it's a long range strike. It's well hit. It's hard, but when you watch it back, you kind of think, oh, maybe Utku could have done a bit better there. Well, because it wasn't quite in top corner. It's very central.
It's in the middle of the goal. He has to have it.
Yeah, I think we're talking about this in our group chat. Is the issue with Utku there is that he takes a step too far to his left, so it kind of makes it hard for him to make up that ground and that distance to get to that right side. So I think.
Yeah, he really gets stuck in with that step too, right? Like, it's okay to make that mistake, but then if you can't recover, then it's not okay. Right?
If that ball goes a little bit further to the left or a little bit further to the right, and it's more towards the corner, then look, only so much a goalkeeper can do. But when a ball is struck relatively in the center of your goal, you have to have it. If you don't, it's on you. And I'm not discrediting Emre's goal. It's a good goal, good strike, like Kartal said, but Utku has to have it. Good goalkeeper has to have that.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, I really was like, wow, what a strike. And yeah, like every kind of replay you saw diminished it a little bit because it was like, oh, wow, that was, it looks like it could have been gettable. At first it's a sort of nagging doubt, and then it sort of looks fairly clear by the last replay. But anyway, that would definitely be it. By the 76th minute, we're down 3-0 to Sivasspor on the road. We've got a sort of ragtag squad out there, and that's how the game would end. A loss to start the season.
Which is fine, I think.
Yeah, in and of itself, that's fine.
Maybe it'll force
the fans are
jumping
jumping onto the... Well, and it's always good to be spurred to sort of solidify things as early on as possible, I suppose.
I've got a hot take regarding this game, is that I think in the long run, this 3-0 loss could be more beneficial than, say, if we won 1-0. Because it's allowed us to see us to see our shortcomings and the positions where we need to make moves. I mean, it's clear as day. Clear as day. We need a number 6. We need someone to fill the shoes of Atiba.
Yeah.
Because
we
said this in our group chat as well. That I think Sinan, me and you both kind of brought up this point that no one was coming to the defence to come and want the ball from the midfield. Everyone was kind of standing about. You know what I mean? See, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but see, any kind of dangerous attack we had, was it Ruiz played a beautiful ball from the back and somehow find Liash, and maybe Liash should play a nice wee kind of dink on or something, you know what I mean, or go on a wee dribble. And that's how all dangerous attacks came. There was very few dangerous attacks, but it was that it came from, Ruiz somehow finding Liash.
Someone needs to get that ball to Liash, and nobody's doing that. We're skipping that too often. We had that last season a lot too. And the thing is, when Ozan was in his best, at his best, it was him and Atiba, and they would rotate. Then Atiba gets the ball, then Ozzy gets the ball, then Atiba gets the ball, and they'd fill each other's position in midfield, and they would work really well in this symbiosis, so to speak. And you just don't have that right now. Now there's just a Dorukhan. I don't know where the fuck he always goes. I don't know. He's never there. I'm not saying it's his job, but I kind of expect that from him since he's not a 10, since he's not really, if he's not a 10, he's either an 8 or he should be either an 8 or a 6, and if he's an 8, he should be coming to get the ball from time to time, and he just doesn't.
Well, so here's the problem. Yeah, the problem with the fact that he kind of disappears on offense is that it's not like he's really solid in the back, because when he makes a good play defensively, it almost seems like he's recovering and rushing back and kind of making up for not being positioned well. So it's, you know what I mean? Like he's somewhere between positions, and he hasn't sorted that out yet.
I think him and Atiba, that works well, but when you get him and a guy with Medell's also not very positionally aware. Medell's a great kind of ankle biter. He's always going to be there. He's always going to stick in a challenge, but his positional awareness isn't there, which is poor for someone at his age. He's 32 now, 31, 32. He still doesn't have that kind of positional awareness.
He's an ankle biter, like you said. He's supposed to just run after the ball, and like a dog runs after the mailman. That's what he's supposed to do. That's not something that fits a team like Beşiktaş. That's why Medel is very successful with Chile, who are like an underdog, but he wasn't successful at Inter. And he's not very successful at Beşiktaş. He's never been good at Beşiktaş when he played in midfield. He's only been effective when he played center back. And the same thing was true when he was playing at Inter. And the reason for that is because that type of player does not suit how a big team plays.
I still say that the best match I've seen of him was when he played left back in a pinch, which is super weird.
No, but he's a great versatility player in at the back, I think.
I did think Medel had a very good season in 17-18. I thought, obviously, the start he wasn't playing, the usual bullshit from Shell Ganesh.
But he was playing mainly as a centre back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he had a good...
And we had a sort of scrappy, veneer. That was our
and that's the
exact
same criticism he got from Inter that he's useless in midfield. He's good at this as a centre back, but he's too small. And it's the exact same thing we came to see of him at Beşiktaş. I'm not saying Gary Medel is not a good player. Clearly he is. I mean, guys won 2 Copa Americas. He's Chile's captain. Obviously, he's a great player, but he's just not a great central defensive midfielder for a top side. I'm sure that if
and to be clear, to clarify for you, you're not saying Beşiktaş and Inter are at the same level, but you mean
Beşiktaş
relative
and Inter
to their
are
to
both
their
clubs that are
at the top
aspiring
of their
to win aspiring
I don't
to
know
win the title.
when was the last time they actually pushed for a title? So in our respective countries, you could argue Beşiktaş is more of a top club than Inter Milan are just now. Obviously not historically speaking, but just now. Beşiktaş are pushing for...
That's not the point I'm making anyway.
We're getting thrown off course. But I think we can pretty much... that's it for the match. We've covered the main talking points as we covered the match itself, because they were pretty much the collision, the tactical, the lineup question marks, and then of course just these sort of singular moments that led to our ultimate collapse. But I think you can expect, because of what we said, because of the errors tactically or formation wise, because of the injuries and the sort of general, that midfield, like you said, that for me is really going forward what needs focus. We really need to carefully consider the role the midfield's been playing in our demise.
But how long have we been saying that?
We've
been saying that for over a year.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. We can go through 25 central defenders. We could go through the entire South American.
We have 83.
The Copa America.
Episode 83. We've probably said it in 50 episodes that we needed an Atiba replacement. That's
exactly.
not new.
And we're gonna put pressure on that back line. That's gonna overwhelm them eventually, as long as we don't have any pressure coming on to guys coming forward.
If you look on paper right now, the back line we'd have with Rebocho, Ruiz, Vida, and Douglas should be, I think, that's the best defensive 4 in the league.
Definitely.
Probably by a mile.
I don't know about you guys,
Absolutely.
but
Especially considering that Douglas and Gökhan Gönül are a pair on that right side. Like, we might even have the best, 6 deep, right? You can go back 6 guys on our defense.
Those
They're
4,
more solid than most guys front
together
four.
with Karius, that's the best defense in the league. But I guarantee you, if we don't get a proper 6, we're going to concede more goals than 50% of the league, probably. We'll probably concede 40 goals or some bullshit. And then everyone's going to say, oh, these defenders are fucking shit, while they're not the issue.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And so before we move on to the news portion of this episode, my only question is, where is Atiba? Is he still injured?
Yeah. Kartal told me something about it off air earlier. I think he asked Toya about it, and she doesn't know he's coming back either. So we don't know, man. What's up with Atiba? But the thing, I think we shouldn't be relying on Atiba. That's the whole problem. He's how old is Atiba? 36, 37.
He's 36 just now. That was 37 in I believe January. Is his birthday or February?
Atiba should be a squad depth player at this point. We shouldn't be relying on him being there. He should be someone who helps us out in a pinch, not someone who puts us in a pinch when he's out.
This is also almost another 83 episode theme, where we've been talking about the need to be gracefully replacing Atiba and sliding him out, So,
hey man, Atiba can still play for us for 3 years. I don't give I really don't. I wouldn't mind.
Exactly.
You can still stay with the club for 3 more years and be that player that helps us out in a pinch, because he's also a very versatile player. Plus, he's a model professional. And he's a leader of the pitch. He's a good example for young
Keeps
players.
Himself in shape.
Everything you want out of an older gentleman.
Exactly. He's the kind of guy you want joining your coaching staff when he retires.
Yeah, exactly. But he cannot be someone we build on for the future.
We rely on. Yeah, come on.
We need a replacement. And then today, for example, I'm hearing that Club Brugge are going after fucking Victor Wanyama.
Who you wanted, right?
And I'm like, what the fuck? Why aren't we going after fucking Victor Wanyama? The guy's 27 years old. He's perfect to replace Atiba. It fits the profile perfectly.
Well, so let's talk about this a little. Speaking of 27, so we now have, I think we can say, a definitive prototype for what kind of a guy Ali Naibi is looking for. He wants a guy who's in that 24 to 27 year range. He's trying to develop a core of players around that frame. So this obviously suggests that you're absolutely right as far as Victor Wanyama goes. Doesn't really match the profile of a Mehmet Özcan, although
Mehmet Özcan's fine too, man. I don't give a flying fuck. Just get someone.
Yeah.
I'm swearing a lot in this episode, but I'm. This is a rated R episode today. Put a disclaimer on it.
The PG as well.
Well, so let's talk about some real news here. While we're on this theme of a core of young guys, so we have some news that looks fairly definitive insofar as we now even have airport sightings and the like. Obviously physicals need to be passed, which in this case is actually fairly important to mention. And
by the time you hear it, that'll all be behind us already.
Very likely,
in the morning.
Very likely, you're gonna see as this episode becomes available, alongside it, news that we have made a signing, and you're gonna see pictures of him in a shirt, signing documents. Although I've made after Vitor Hugo, I promised I would not say this until I saw the signing and the jersey wearing and all that. I think we can pretty much chalk this one up because, the airport is fairly definitive. The guy should be training for Tottenham otherwise, but he's not. He's come and he did the little eagle. What do they call that in Turkish? Where you put your hands up.
Kartal pençesi.
Yeah.
It's Kartal pençesi.
So
That's what that means for anyone that doesn't know.
And so the eagle claw. But so I don't know how much more definitive you can get besides the actual document signing. But so we've made a move. Kevin Georges Nkoudou.
No, Georges-Kévin.
Oh,
Georges.
Georges-Kévin Nkoudou. He's joining us from Tottenham. He's been out on loan a number of times. He's been out on loan at Monaco. He's been out on loan at Burnley. He's been all over the place. He's not played a lot. But let me hand the mic over to these guys. I'm going to start with Kartal because I think I know where Kaan's going. Kartal, what do you gather about all this? You know, where has your mind gone as far as this transfer goes from when the news broke until now?
Well, in all honesty, it's all. I'm not too sure about the move. I'm not in the same mindset as Kaan. Kaan's pretty doom and gloom about it, but what I'm thinking is, of course, he's been at Tottenham for 3 years now, and he's averaged about 100 minutes a season, which is, you know, it's shocking. I mean, it's very bad. That's just over a full game a year. But some tell you know, Tottenham's it's a great side. You know, I mean, they've got a lot of great players. You know, I mean, he's competing with the likes of Heung-min Son, Eric Lamela,
Lucas Moura.
Moura as well, of course. He's fighting with those guys to get a place in that team. So if he's not playing there, it's not really a disaster, you know, so to speak. But what I'm thinking is, obviously, he had a good season in 15-16 with Marseille, and I'm thinking Tottenham would sign a guy that's got no potential. So clearly, this kid does have potential to do well. But it's just in the last 3 years, he's not shown that potential. He had a loan spell at Burnley, but he didn't really play either, which is, it's really, I mean, it's a great cause for concern, to be honest, if he's not even playing at Burnley.
Well, and so our guy Sally came in saying that apparently Burnley plays a very defensive brand of football and kind of loft it up and chase after it. Maybe I could say it's a traditional English style,
That's
which he didn't fit in.
Yeah.
He's more of a guy who wants to be on the ball. From a lot of the descriptions I've heard, he sounds very kind of Tyler Boyd-like, very kind of pacey and maybe not the best first touch, but you know, again, young enough to improve. Obviously,
I think Tyler Boyd has a very good first touch. Actually, I just think he had an unlucky match.
Well, yeah, he was
Sivas.
concussed, and yeah, you're right. I just mean based on what people are saying and reputationally.
No, but I mean, he had a couple of bad touches in the first half. I think one in particular that kind of cost us a good chance. But in general, I think he actually has a really good first touch and ball control. So,
and he also had a sublime cross that dropped down to, I can't remember, someone who muffed it, totally wasted it. Maybe Gouven, but I don't want to blame him.
wasn't that a Quaresma cross that he muffed?
That happened as well. No, but Tyler Boyd had one cross that really stood out to me early on. Anyway, we're done with that match. Let's put that one behind us.
Yeah.
But so, Nkoudou, Kaan, it's your turn to say what you think.
Oh. Well, if you get this guy on a free, you're not gonna hear me complaining. But when you're paying 5 fucking million fucking euros, exclamation mark, I should say. If you're playing that type of money, which makes him effectively our 10th most expensive player in history,
Whoa.
then I expect that you sign someone with a little bit of a proven track record. I'm not saying you have to sign a 30-year-old player. You can sign a 24 or 25-year-old player who has actually averaged more than 100 minutes in the last 3 seasons. That's perfectly possible. I know that with 5 million, you don't really buy all that much anymore these days. Although we did buy Adam Lage for 6.5 million, so I'm pretty sure that if you look well enough, you can find a quality player in his mid-20s for 5 million. I'm not saying Nkoudou is not a quality player. That's not what I'm saying. I don't know Nkoudou. I've never seen Nkoudou play. Probably because he never plays.
How could you? Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not necessarily against us getting him. I just am very much against the financials of this deal. I think 5 million euros is a lot of money for a club like us. We do not spend 5 million euros often.
Lightly, yeah.
Like I said, this is the 10th time in our history that we have spent a fee of 5 million or more. That is not a lot in a club of over 110 years old. So I think spending 5 million euros, first and foremost, we've already spent, 12, 13 million this window. We haven't sold shit. Obviously, we're not under financial fair play anymore. That does not mean we have to throw it out the fucking windows, because we'll be under financial fair play again
Soon
before
enough.
you know it.
Well, and it does definitely it's absolutely worth mentioning that both Quaresma and Germain Lens are still on the books, behind now Tyler Boyd and Georges-Kévin.
Yeah, but
GK.
Well, let's wait. Let's wait. No, but anyway, I mean, I think it's just very worrying. I mean, he went out on loan to Burnley, barely played, and Kartal, I think, asked some Burnley fans, and they said they weren't too impressed with him, that he just wasn't good enough. Now, I don't know, like what Sally says might be true. But then he went out on loan to Monaco, got injured, got a hamstring injury, took him out for 2.5 months, so he barely played there. So again, now, if Monaco, this was last season, by the way, if Monaco loans him, to me, that kind of does tell me that, look, he must have some ability, because otherwise Monaco is not going to loan him. But it's just also so boring. The thing I have to take the biggest exception to is that, look, this guy is clearly someone Tottenham want to get rid of. You know, he's been on their books for 3 years, hasn't done jack shit. Clearly, that's a player.
Time and again.
Yeah, clearly, that's a player they want to cut their losses and they want to get rid of him. So they, in theory, should be very happy if a club comes and says, look, I don't just want to loan this guy. I'll outright buy him from you. So you don't have to pay him anymore. You can get rid of him, all that stuff. They paid, I believe, 11 million euros for him 3-4 years ago. That is not a big fee for an English club. That is not something they'll be like, oh, we want to recuperate our losses. So we're paying, how the fuck are we paying 5 million euros for this guy right now? Look, he can make his debut on Friday and score a fucking hat-trick, and I'll still be saying the same thing. Why are we paying 5 million euros for this guy? We should be able to get him for 2 or 3. Because this is clearly a player Tottenham want rid of. And then you're paying 5 million and supposedly 50% on his next sale. So what's the point of buying a 24-year-old player with supposed sell-on value when 50% of his next sale is going to go to Tottenham too?
And hopefully it'll be 50% of the profit on the next sale, right? We can.
Yeah, usually that's kind of the standard of those types of formulas. So say we sell them for 6 million, then Tottenham would get an additional 500k. So it's not like they would get 3 million. But still, I mean, the point of investing in younger players is that you can have sell-on value, right? That's basically the only reason to invest in a younger player, right? To have value down the road.
Especially such a mystery like this one, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, you can just as well spend it on a 29-year-old player.
Where you know you're getting XYZ out of.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So for me, I get this transfer in the sense of you want to get a player that's good today and good tomorrow and good the day after tomorrow. And you don't just want a player that's good today and maybe good tomorrow. I get that. But if you're spending this type of money,
should be maybe an El Yunusi.
Then it has to be an established player. Look, yeah, for example, El Yunusi, I don't know how much Southampton or Sunderland or wherever the fuck he plays. I don't know how much they paid for it. I think like 16 million or something. But he was a total flop. Absolute total flop at his club. So I'm sure they want rid of him. I think if you pay 5 million euros and 50% on next sale for him, that is totally acceptable. Because that's a guy who has proven himself properly proven himself at Basel for 2 seasons. He was a big man there, scored lots of goals, gave lots of assists. He was a very important player there. He basically played in the same role as Mohamed Salah did at FC Basel all those years ago. So if you would put that deal on the table for that guy, I would get it. I don't get it here because basically what Nkoudou has had, he has had 1 season at Nantes and he has had 1 season at Marseille. Both were decent seasons. Neither of them were absolute breakout seasons. He had 28 League appearances for Marseille in 2015-16. He scored 5 goals, gave 3 assists. That is not mind-blowing. He also made 7 appearances in the Europa League and he got 4 goals and 2 assists there. That's very good, obviously. Involved in 6 goals and 7 matches in the Europa League. Obviously, that's good. But that is not a star-making season. That is not what El Younousi had at FC Basel. El Younousi was the big man there. He was the head honcho. Konoplyanka was the big man at Dnipro. Konoplyanka still is the big man when he plays for Ukraine. Those are players that are established and have proven track records. Nkoudou does not have a proven track record. You don't know what you're getting in terms of end product with him. He might be very talented, he might perfectly fit the profile that Abdullah Afci is looking for, but he is not obviously, no player is a guarantee. Obviously, Konoplyanka would not be a guarantee either, given the fact that he's kind of bombed at both Sevilla and Schalke. But he's had decent first seasons at both Sevilla and Schalke. So, I think the main issue with Konoplyanka is, if you make him important and you make him feel important like they do at the Ukraine, I think he can be a good player for a club like us. And I've spoken to some people, Ukrainian people, who believe that Beşiktaş could have been a good fit for him. Now, okay, fine, that is not happening. I'm not upset about that. He's turning 30 years old relatively soon, I think. So I'm not upset by that or anything. It's not that I had my heart set on Konoplyanka or my heart set on El Younousi. I just wanted a marquee signing on that left wing because I do believe it's one of our most important signings. Now, look. If we now go and we get, for example, Victor Wanyama, and we get a decent striker,
we get like
decent backup striker. Yeah, I mean, look, if that ends up happening, we get Wanyama and Abubakar, then obviously you're like, oh, okay, you know what? But then I still don't really understand how we are able to allocate 5 million of our very limited transfer budget on a question mark player.
And let's see. Let's get these figures in definitively, right? I mean, it's looking very likely that that's the case. But obviously, if that is the case, that'll have to be reported to cap, right? I think you said if it's over 4 million?
Yeah, probably. I'm not 100% sure, but that the 5 million fee will almost certainly be reported.
So we'll know. We'll know soon enough.
Yeah, we will know. Yeah, but it's just. I don't get it. Like, how long did we haggle over the price for Tyler Boyd? And with Tyler Boyd, we knew what we were getting. And how long did we haggle? That took ages. It took ages to get him for 2.4 million. We haggled for an eternity, and now we're just throwing. Obviously, you don't know how long these negotiations. Maybe Ali Naibi was talking to Tottenham for a month already. You don't know that, obviously. But how the fuck are we just throwing 5 million at this guy right now while we still need a 6? We need a 6. There is no way around
and a striker,
that. We have
right?
to
I mean, at least for the next few weeks. Ideally, we would get a striker. But I think a striker is less urgent than a 6. Less urgent. Well, obviously, I think if you want to win the league, you have to get the striker. But I can understand that the striker is not the main priority, but a 6 is so important. Especially given the price of what strikers tend to go for.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a traditional 6. It can just be a different type of midfielder, so just somebody who fits into Abdullah Afci's system, somebody who can
Vidal. The news.
Yeah, I mean, if we can spend 5 million on this guy, maybe we can spend 4 million on Arturo Vidal.
So there is actually some news, which is that supposedly Abdullah Afci has streamlined. He said the 6. I need a 6, right? So that's been reported today. We'll see how that's acted upon, and hopefully it is. Beyond that, yeah, I mean, obviously we're stay tuned for the Georges-Kévin Nkoudou episode, as always. Kaan, hopefully you can drum up some good stuff there. Before I forget, guys, go back and watch the Pedro Rebosho episode. Rebosho, who, is definitely going to be starting in this coming week, this coming match. That's been supposedly reported as well. Who knows? But I think all of us want to see Rebosho at this point. What else is there to talk about before we sign out for this week?
It was the whole Quaresma incident today, where there was.
Tell us about that, Kartal. Tell us about that. You've been quiet again. Tell us about what happened with Quaresma.
So what happened was there was a exclusive news posted by Serge Andikme, who's a reporter from Bears TV. Which, to be fair to the guy, he's had some good news this summer, but in general, he's not the most reliable of sources. But he posted a tweet today saying that Quaresma will be leaving Beşiktaş and that the board have taken a decision to kind of cut ties, and Quaresma has accepted this. But then, literally 15 minutes later, Quaresma posts an Instagram post, screenshotting the tweet saying that this is complete lies. He's staying at Beşiktaş at least until his contract runs out, and that he's going to fight for the championship this year. And he ended it with saying he's Beşiktaş forever. So it seems like we've got another year to watch Ricardo Quaresma at least.
Yeah, which is interesting.
On the bench.
Yeah, and so, now that we have invested, as Kaan has expressed his concern about, a fairly large sum into Nkoudou, and of course, we've also brought in Tyler Boyd, who's probably been our best performer so far. Not maybe including the first match of the season. Definitely, I think we have to view those two as the two starters, at least long term, which puts Quaresma, Jeremy Lenz, Orkan Çınar.
Yeah.
There's some guys on the fringes now, and I really struggle to of all of those guys. Jeremy Lenz has already been fairly sporting about taking a role on our bench. Even though it probably hasn't been deserved until now. So I don't really worry about his attitude about being benched. But Quaresma, on the other hand, that's another story. What do you think about that, guys? Like that could be a final talking point. Is that going to be a problem for him?
The weird thing about Quaresma is he's fine sitting on the bench for Portugal. Because, up until maybe the last few months or so, but the last couple of years, Quaresma's always been that impact sub for Portugal. Or if they need to go, put Quaresma on. But it's weird when it comes to Beşiktaş. It seems like he feels like he's entitled to a spot in that starting lineup, and his face is kind of tripping him a wee bit if he's not starting, or if he gets taken off.
Even if he doesn't get to take a free kick, right?
If he throws a hissy fit, I think we can all remember that clip from last year. I believe it was that Sivasspor game at home where we lost 2-1 to Sivas at home. It was a horrible game, but Adem Niaj went to take a free kick in that, and Quaresma actually kicked the ball away from him as he was going to take it. So as if you're not taking that, I'm taking it.
And then Medel and Atiba intervened, I think, or just Medel or something.
Yeah, I think you're right about it. It was both of them kind of stepped in. We're like, hey. Come on, and it
was like, no, motherfucker, you ain't taking this.
Medel that's one aspect he's quite good in.
That's the thing. I think Medel's awesome, but he just shit as a 6. That's what I'm saying.
He's just a great utility belt. He's the kind of guy that you can be able, like, as a bench player, he's fantastic. He's just a little expensive for a club like ours.
He's like a competent Najib.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think I'd never questioned Medel's passion. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was the camera quickly panned to Dorokan and Medel sitting on the bench after they scored the third, and Medel looked devastated.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone can question Medel's commitment or his passion for Beşiktaş. I don't think that's the issue for him. I think the issue really is that he's he's not suited to play in that number 6 role for us just now.
Well, and it's important to note that he has been a sort of bench adjacent type of player for most of his time with us. So that shows a degree of like sportingness, that you really want, like what we were just saying about Quaresma, how he might not gracefully adapt to that role as being a bench guy. Medel has always been fairly solid in that regard. So
Medel is a team player at the end of the day. Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe Quaresma this season, I could see him accept that role as a bench player because I think he knows that he's at the end of his swan song, so to speak, at Beşiktaş at least.
Yeah,
I think he knows that. I think he realizes that. I think
every summer, every window, in fact, the rumors start to mount. I mean, maybe.
Yeah. But I just wonder if he starts. I wonder if he feels that he's slowing down. Because everyone's clearly still in denial about it, so maybe he is too.
Man.
But I don't know. Initially, at first I thought, he's just in a rut. But then he had a really good training camp in terms of the reports that came out at least. And he's still in that rut. So to me, I've just come to the conclusion that this isn't just a temporary thing. This is just him slowing down. And the thing is, people say, well, maybe a super sub. I think he was very effective as a super sub at Porto, very effective as a super sub in Portugal. When they needed a goal, they put him in. I question if he can still do that. But at the same time, look, I think if in the 70th minutes, when the opposition's fullbacks' legs start getting tired a little bit, maybe
he's coming in fresh, right? There you go.
Maybe if he comes in fresh, maybe he can still do something. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, Quaresma, at times he just needs that one cross. Mm-hmm. So maybe he can still put in a job as that. But I have my doubts about that even right now, just because he just struggled so much to just get past this man.
Yeah.
And I hope other people are starting to see this, because everyone wasn't seeing this a couple of weeks ago when I mentioned it. But I hope you guys have seen it, right? Like he can't get the fuck past anyone anymore.
Yeah. It's very sad as well. I mean,
yeah, it is.
Quaresma, when he first came to Beşiktaş in 2010.
Oh yeah,
he's one of my favourite players of all time, and especially in that first run of ours, it was taking the past players for fun. You know what I mean? It was far too easy for him.
It is, man. I mean, I look. Yeah. It's not because I'm criticizing him now. I love the guy, man. Like, I'm not one of those people who's hating on Quaresma all the time and like calling him like a cancer and shit. Fuck that. I love Quaresma. He's a club legend. He's done a lot for this club. He's also an idiot sometimes. Yeah. He's very hot-tempered, and he can be a very negative impact on the club, but at the end of the day, I think he's done great things for the club. He's one of the best players that I've seen play.
I don't know what you guys think, but I think in our title in 2016 to 2017, I think Quaresma was the most important player in that title for me.
16-17, him and Talisca, probably.
Yeah, second half, probably Talisca. Yeah.
Quaresma, Talisca, and Aboubakar was also pretty important, but Quaresma and Talisca for sure.
I mean, by the second half of the season, for me, it's sort of Talisca stands out, but as a whole season, definitely. Quaresma was a...
In 15-16, obviously Mario Gomez, but I think in 15-16, we much more won as a team. But I think in 16-17 we won the title more on individual quality, and for a large part that was Quaresma's and Talisca's individual qualities.
The Ortaka goals that everyone's came to hate.
Yeah. I watched a video recently of all of Talisca's goal, and the amount of headers he scored is ridiculous.
I'll always
anyway,
we're going a little bit off track. As the 26-year-old when he first arrived, bright-eyed. Took the team on his back. His goals against that Israeli team in the Europa League, and that huge goal against Fener that was like been dissected in slow-mo. I mean, there's he has some moments that one should not forget, unless they just want to be grumpy all the time, I guess. But anyway,
Quaresma was the first time that Beşiktaş, I feel, showed the ability to sign a big name like that.
Sure.
I don't know. For me, anyway, we we hadn't signed a player that big before then. And the fact that he was still in his prime is a bonus as well. You know,
like,
he's 26
this
years old.
summer actually highlights the Quaresma effect maybe more than most, insofar as we've got both Tyler Boyd and Pedro Robocho, who have both clearly indicated that Quaresma was a huge part of their interest in joining the club. And so these are huge pieces that we're building with going forward for years to come. That
but I also think that will still remain after Quaresma is gone,
sure.
because Robocho also referenced Pepe. I think the fact that both Quaresma and Pepe have played at Beşiktaş, I think that is always going to be, especially in the relatively near future. I think for Portuguese players approached by the club, that's always going to be a reference point for them. It's always going to be
Almeida. You know, we've got some great
Simão, Almeida, Fernandes.
Manu.
Yeah. And let's not forget Julio Alves.
Oh, of course, the star.
Probably.
Bruno's younger brother. Anyway, one more thing. Jermaine Lens might not be here for much longer. PSV Eindhoven are looking for an experienced winger to add to their squad, and Lens is on their list. That was reported by probably the most reliable source you could get in Holland, the NOS, which is basically like TRT in Turkey, but more with the credibility of the BBC in England. So, I mean, I'm not. They didn't say that it's happening, but he's on their list. So maybe if if they're willing to pay his wages, I don't know, because, for example, PSV signed Kostas Mitroglou from Galatasaray today. Obviously, Mitroglou is on loan at Galatasaray, but Galatasaray were obligated to take him this second season too. So, and he is on, 3.2 million euros a year or something. And
still paying the bulk of it.
Yeah, and Galatasaray is still paying almost 2 million of that 3.2 million wage. So I don't know exactly what PSV would be willing to pay Jermaine Lens. So it might just be a potential loan move where they'd be paying a fraction of his wage. I don't know exactly. I think if there's a possibility for us to get Lens off of our books permanently, I think we should just let him go for free. Everyone knows I like Lens, but at the end of the day, clearly his transfer didn't work out. I think we've wasted 2 of his prime years.
Another Chanel masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, we wasted 2 of the guy's prime years now, so he's 31 now, so it's kind of a waste to invest time in him at this point when you do have a 4-year-old Tyler Boyd and you have a 24-year-old Nkoudou.
Yeah, we're clearly building for this next phase now, you know. It's time to move on.
So I'd much rather have Lens go on a free now and let PSV take his full wage on, which I doubt they'd be willing to do, honestly. But
if it's going to be a loan deal and they're only going to take on a portion of his wage, I think he may as well stay at Beşiktaş, but
depends. I mean, look, if they say, look, we're going to pay 1.5 million of his 2.3 million wage, so that leaves us with 800k to pay, I think that 1.5 million, that might be worth letting him go for if we can then, for example, get Konoplyanka. And then we have Konoplyanka, Nkoudou, and Tyler Boyd. And then we have 3 good wingers we can rotate, plus Furkan, plus potentially Quaresma. I think that could work.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see, man.
But, that's just me.
Yeah, that was I was going to say, what time is it over there? It must be getting late. You're having a good dream.
One more rumor. Steve Mounier from Huddersfield Town.
Yeah.
We've been linked with him. But the latest on that is that they want 10 million or something for him, and we're only willing to go as high as 6 million. So then again, I ask, where the F are we getting this money? Imagine if we'd buy him, or no, I think we're still gonna get a central defender and a striker. If we get both of those, that's at least gonna be another 6 million. You'd think, right? I mean, let's say we buy a defensive midfielder for 3 or 4 or 5, and then we pay a loan fee for a striker or whatever. You're probably still at 4, 5, 6 million. So on top of what we already spent, plus the 5 million of Nkoudou, plus that, we'll probably be like 22 million in the fucking red this window. I can't fucking. I don't get
Hard to
it.
fathom.
I really don't. I know we're under financial fair play anymore, but I think we're going to be under financial fair play again next year if
At
we
this
keep
rate.
going with this. This is not normal.
There's something weird. There's
Yeah.
something weird there. Yeah.
And you could say, okay, maybe they're banking on going to the Champions League next season, but the transfers we're making right now, they're good transfers, but those aren't necessarily short-term success transfers like we see Galatasaray make. Because look, Kyle Boyd's 24, Nkoudou's 24. These are clearly not necessarily players that are expected to make a huge impact straight away.
24,
I mean, I don't know.
Lots of question marks. I'd say
but-
more questions raised than answered, perhaps, so far this window. But there's still a little bit of time left, which, of course, listeners, stay tuned. Obviously, the season carries on, but this is it. This is like we still have at least 2 big moves incoming, and they have to happen in the next week.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The
Might,
thing is, can I just say something about the whole Mooney situation? Is I feel like 6 million for him is just not worth it at all. We're talking about a guy that scored 2 goals last season in the league, and I feel like if Beşiktaş are going to pay 6 million for a striker, it has to be a striker that's going to score at least 20 goals in the league. You know what I mean? For me,
needs
I
to
mean,
be Demba, right? I mean, we paid 6 for Demba.
yeah, we're a club that paid €1,000 for Mario Gomez. You know what I mean? So. We paid €1,000 for Mario Gomez, who scored us 26 goals. So I really don't see why we'd pay 6 million for a guy that's maybe only going to score 7 or 8 goals.
I think I think if he starts every match, that's a 15 goal a season striker at least. Just going by his track record before last season, because he scored 9 goals in the Premier League for Huddersfield the season before. And we all know Huddersfield are kind of like a little farmers team. And then he scored 14 for Montpellier, I think, in the Ligue 1 the year before at like age 21. So I think that's a guy who could, in the right environment, score a decent amount of goals. I'm not saying 20 plus, but I think that's a 50. I think that's a Hugo Almeida level goal producing striker, which Hugo Almeida. For us, I always liked Hugo Almeida. I think if Hugo Almeida didn't get injured in the 13-14 season, he would have scored 20 plus goals. Because he was on 13 and he was on fucking fire.
The thing about Almeida is he always, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but he always started every year fantastically, but then he'd get injured.
Yeah.
And kind of went after that.
Like, he was an underrated goal scorer in my opinion. Yeah. Like, he had this reputation of at Portugal, like, missing like huge sitters and, you know, like from 1 yard out putting it over the bar and shit like that. But for us, I always thought that he was a really good goal scorer up until that point where he would get like an unfortunate injury, and then his fucking form would be completely fucked. But no, I always liked Hugo. I mean, and he even scored in derbies. I mean, he loved scoring against Fenerbahce. I think he scored like 1 or 2 goals against Galatasaray. So he was a good striker in his prime. It's just always getting injured, you know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if we'd gotten him a couple of years earlier, we could have mitigated that a little better. But
yeah, but I think when injury-prone players are always going to be, it's in
their DNA.
That's the way it is, you know. And that's one of the good things I really like about, for example, Pedro Rebocho, who really had this reputation of not suffering injuries. So, knock on wood. Because probably I jinxed him now.
Knock on wood, everyone at home. Well, so take us out, Kaan. You guys must be on the brink of passing out. I mean,
yes. It's 2:30 here in the UK.
Say again?
Let's check my book.
It's 2:30 here in the UK.
2 a.m. So what is that, 3?
Half 4 in the morning for me.
Okay, well, listeners of the Black Eagles podcast, these guys are probably pooped. But so anyway, before they can leave, I have to announce Beşiktaş is going to be hosting. So our home season opener is going to be against Göztepe. 1:30 p.m. here, New York City time. So that's 6:30 for you, Kartal, I believe. 8:30 for you, Kaan. 9:30 in Turkey? Wow. No, that doesn't sound right. I must be off by an hour. Whatever. Check your local.
Why don't you
listing.
just mention the local time? It's 8:30 local.
I don't
so
have-
for
well,
me
'cause
that's
for me-
7:30, and for Kartal that's 6:30.
Yeah.
locally.
I don't see the local
yeah.
time. You know, I'm Google's.
Use the BN Sports app, you monkey.
No, the BN Sports app does. That's another thing. It's like
Yeah,
geo
Bean Sports app actually makes it arranges it to your own local time.
Yeah.
So it's it's 6:30. It starts here in the UK.
And for me, the
No, it doesn't
the
feel
Turkish one is geo-blocked. I can only do like the general BN. It's like BN Connect. So
Oh, okay.
anyway,
It's probably to do with that beef that Trump and Erdogan have.
yeah. I mean, who knows?
You're not allowed to talk about that.
Who knows?
So take us out, Kaan.
Imagine.
Tell everyone what
Can't have the
what to
BN
pay
Sports
attention
Turkey
to.
app.
What are we looking
You
out
go.
for, Kaan? On the horizon. Take us out.
I'll be. I'm still trying to find. I had someone for the Victor Ruiz episode, but with La Liga starting up, he just got super busy, and I asked a bunch of other people, and they were also super busy because of La Liga starting up. So it's been very difficult to find someone to interview on Victor Ruiz. So I'm still gonna owe you that, but I am trying to. I spoke to. My former producer at EA Sports, who is a Nantes fan, so I will try and get to speak to him about our good friend Georges-Kévin Nkoudou, because obviously he started his senior career at Nantes, and then I'm also trying to get in touch with Olympique Marseille specialist to talk about his one season at Marseille. So I'll hopefully be able to get a 30 or so minute episode on Nkoudou together, and hopefully a 30 or so episode on Victor Ruiz. But I think by the time I get that Ruiz episode, we'll know everything we need to know
He's
already,
already a
because
fan
I think he really
favorite, right?
he already showcased his ability pretty well against Sivas. I was dreading that he was going to make some mistake, man. I was really dreading that he would get off on a bad start and he would immediately, like Alexis Delgado, get completely scapegoated.
For that bad.
Imagine
He was
it was
absolutely flawless. He was absolutely
Imagine-
flawless, I thought.
Yeah, he was brilliant. It's funny when you lose 3-0 to have a player in defense that was so good.
Everyone's
I
come
thought-
away
Funny, I was-
liking.
My friends,
Not
my
just with his-
friends-
Yeah, but not just his defending, he was very good in the air, and I kind of expected that that was going to be his major flaw in the air,
Yeah.
but he was good in the air.
Yeah, on the ball,
He was
fantastic.
Great,
Just what we need.
great interceptions
Yeah.
and amazing build up. In the beginning, I had the impression like the first half, I don't know, but once we went down, I had the impression that he was less timid on the ball and started taking more risks, and that's when we started seeing those really nice long balls and then nice plays. Because in the beginning, I had the feeling he was he didn't really want to take too many risks, when it was 0-0. I get that on your debut, but once he kind of got into the game, it was definitely a positive start for him. So hopefully he can continue that on Friday.
So stay tuned, just in case you find someone. But anyway, follow us on Twitter.
Yeah,
right?
follow us on Twitter at Beşiktaş_int. Follow Sinan at Sir_writes_a lot. Follow me at Razarian, RAZZERIAN, and follow Kartal at just Kartal L, I think, right? Two L's.
Yeah. Just obviously the L for Kartal, then another L, yeah.
Liam.
That's it, yeah, it's Liam.
Liam.
That's my Scottish name.
Kartal,
I'm gonna find you,
L-O,
and I'm gonna kill you. Or how does he say it?
I was thinking, what's the British band with Liam?
Yeah,
Liam
Oasis.
Cunningham?
Oasis.
Oasis,
Oh,
there you go.
yeah, Kim likes those. I'm not a
Said
fan.
baby.
Ugh.
They're kind of a classic.
Yeah,
Not
look,
like
Liam,
the stuff I'm
Hey,
gonna sit at home and listen
some good
to.
songs out there. Don't look back in anger. You know what I mean? That's an answer.
I don't.
Great karaoke band. I'll tell you, if you ever do if you get a karaoke room,
Yeah.
that's where you want to be listening to Oasis for sure. Anyway, I have to say one thing, of course. Go Beşiktaş!
Uh-huh.
That's it.
Indeed.
Yeah, I didn't want to let you guys see it. But yeah, everyone take everything.
Hey, actually, I think this is the last one. I think it'll. I think it'll go. I don't think that's
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.